Good evening and welcome once again. Thank you all the participants for joining with us. Today is our 2025th day of continuous webinar. Thank you all for your support and presence here. Today's our guest is Dr. Mini Mehta. She is BHMS at PG Homeo from London. And she had done certified course in oncology, currently posted as a palliative care physician in Rajiv Gandhi Cancer Hospital, New Delhi. And her specialized areas is holistic medicine, mind, body, and soul, integrative oncology, pain and palliation oncology, supportive care in oncology, and benign tumor and growth. She is treating allergic and inflammatory diseases, skin diseases, neurological disorder, endometriosis, and she worked as a at present she's working in palliative care physician Rajiv Gandhi Hospital, faculty in London Homeopathic College, wellness consultant in Star Wellness Center. She worked there before, and she presented many articles. She published articles, and she got many awards. She worked in Bhagavan Mahavir Hospital. She worked in Vardhman Jain Hospital and Curewell Cancer Hospital. So I think she have lot of experience, and we are lucky to get Mini Mehta as Dr. Mini Mehta as our speaker today. Thank you and welcome. Doctor has not joined yet. Dr. Mini Mehta, not yet joined.
Well, I think Dr. Ajini, this is the
Yes.
latest development in
Yes.
homeopathy. Yes, Dr. Ganesh, please.
Yes, Doctor, our guest is joining shortly.
Okay.
Since she has lost the link, that's the reason.
Okay. You can see the integrated oncology, pain palliation, supportive care oncology, a lot of topics she studied after her homeopathy course. That's the most interesting thing and most important. Yes. Dr. Mini Mehta joined us. Please make a post, Dr. Ajini.
Dr. Mini Mehta, you're welcome. Please.
Thank you.
Introduce.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes, Doctor, please proceed. We have completed the formalities. Please continue.
Yeah, we already introduced you. Now
Yeah,
actually,
I'm just sharing the slide.
Okay.
So, good evening, everybody. Today, we are going to discuss a very important topic. We often get a lot of patients suffering from gout, middle-aged patients to elderly people. And so today we will discuss the homeopathic management of gout, a clinical and materia medica perspective. So today what we'll learn, we'll try to discuss and understand the pathophysiology of gout, explain the etiology and stages, how to apply homeopathic principles, and how to identify important remedies, understand the miasmatic approach, and how we should take interest in performing the individualized remedy selection. So gout is a metabolic disorder characterized by hyperuricemia leading to deposition of monosodium urate crystals in joints, usually causing inflammatory arthritis. So somebody comes to you in your clinic with joint pain. First impression comes in our mind is that this person might suffer from arthritis. But how do we try to differentiate it and go more deeper to understand whether it is arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, or some, acute pain, or some osteoarthritis, or it is a gout. So how do we do that, differentiate that? Excuse me. Commonly affected joints in gout are first metatarsopharyngeal joint, ankles, knees, wrist, elbows. So half of the idea we derive from the patient, that what could be the diagnosis, is from the location of the problem and the modalities, that how the pain is there, when does it increase, is it changeable, this pain is changing locations, or it has a fixed location. So if it is a gout, it must affect the first metatarsophalangeal joint, ankles, knees, wrist, elbows. Hello, what? दे दो। हाँ हाँ भैया, ले लो, अभी लेके जाते हैं। हाँ। So epidemiology is more common in men, usually occurs after 30 to 40 years of age, increasing prevalence due to lifestyle and diet. And etiology is increased uric acid production in the body and decreased renal excretion. And there might be a genetic predisposition also, and dietary factors. It has been seen that people who take more this fat diet, protein diet, and dairy products, they suffer from joint pains and moreover uric acid problems also. And people who have history of some kidney disease or stones, they also simultaneously can have uric acid problem. And we have seen that people who suffer from uric acid, they might later on suffer from some heart muscle disease also. Risk factors are alcohol, red meat and seafood, obesity, hypertension, chronic kidney disease. Pathophysiology, if we look into the pathophysiology, there will be hyperuricemia, supersaturation of body fluids, formation of monosodium urates, joint deposition, and inflammatory response from the body. So people who suffer from diabetes, hypertension, and they are having multiple problems in the body, sometimes they suffer from joint pain also simultaneously. So in homeopathy, but when we treat a person as a whole. We don't go for that there is deposition of uric acid, so we have something specific for that only will cure the patient. We'll see what is reflecting more into your eyes, the miasmatic background, or the acute exaggeration of some previous disease, or it is a secondary effect of some kidney problem to the patient, or diet. So stages of gout are asymptomatic hyperuricemia, acute gouty arthritis, intercritical gout, chronic tophaceous gout. Sometimes patient don't realize that there is no pain at all, and they go through regular normal checkup and they get to know that they are suffering from uric acid also, and the pain is not so much there. Sometimes there is a lot of pain in fingers. The ladies will generally complain that they are not able to make the dough with their hands, that they cannot move their fingers in it. And sometimes there is a lot of swelling over the joint, tophaceous gout, which we call tophaceous gout. And that swelling can be painful, and it cannot it maybe it is painless. I've seen a lot of people having that tophaceous swelling on their big toe, also on their thumb, and below the other finger joints also. So what are the clinical features of gout which help us to understand that this is gout and not arthritis, not rheumatoid arthritis, not osteoarthritis? Is that severe joint pain, swelling and redness, heat in the joint, tenderness, and pain, mostly which occurs at night. So these are the general symptoms to identify, to diagnose gout. So these general symptoms will give us list of remedies which are indicated in this problem of gout. But when we are going to look for individualized medicine, along we have to exclude all these. We have to, just to know that this patient is suffering with this, then we have to keep these symptoms aside and try to look for some individualized symptom, something special about that patient, which is not a general symptom, we have to look for a characteristic symptom. So how will we diagnose it? Confirm that what I'm thinking about this patient, I need to confirm it for the patient, for myself, to compare the reports. Serum uric acid, will go for this test. We can go for synovial fluid analysis. We can go for polarized microscopy, X-ray, and ultrasound. All these diagnostic tests can help us to confirm our diagnosis and compare the reports and progress of the patient. So, what is the homeopathic approach? Homeopathic approach is always, it is the same, that no matter whatever is the disease, individualization of patient is the focus of the homeopathic approach. Correction of uric acid diathesis, management of acute inflammation. Why the patient is having so much pain now, as if he's suffering from past 1 year, 2 year? Why his pains are increased? Maybe this is due to some emotional factor, or the season change, that rain has happened. He gets his pain, aggravated in the rainy season, or he had to really work hard, or he had to shift his office to some basement which was very damp, and we have to prevent the recurrence. So we'll tell patient what not to do, and we have to identify the circumstances which can aggravate the patient's condition. So we have to tell him that how he has to prevent the recurrence through diet and the lifestyle. So what are the principles of homeopathic treatment? Principles of homeopathic treatment is law of similars, similia similibus curantur, totality of symptoms, that we have to take all the symptoms from head to toe, physical generals, mental generals, and characteristic symptoms plus modalities. This will help you to find out the best remedy suitable to the patient. And law of similars, not same. You have to find the most similar remedy which can unlock the this disease of that patient. And minimum dose. Once you have given some dose, you have started with some dose, you have to wait and watch. If patient is improving, it's not like that. If patient has improved, still you will say now you start taking it 3 times a day, you'll get better fast. So minimum dose you have to give, and you have to individualize the patient. Most of the people nowadays, whenever they get patients of joint pain, they quickly move towards the patents, in which they have ruta and timgrod and so many things, patent mixture of all the medicines, and they give to the patient, which is totally against the law of similars, totally against the minimum dose, totally against the individualization, and totally against the constitutional prescribing. Means it's not at all homeopathy. I'm sorry to say, people are doing it, but it's not homeopathy. It might take time to find the exact remedy for the patient, but the individualized medicine, the individualized remedy will only help the patient to get better with the pain. You have to recognize that if the patient, what is the background of the patient? Sometimes the patients are not in the curable form. Whenever there is a lot of structural dis structural changes in the body, maybe it's a palliative case, but with lot of comorbidities in the body, but still one medicine at a time. You can, if you want to prescribe 2 medicines, he has a lot of problems, the palliative case, still you can place them alternatively at the gap of 1 hour, 2 hour, but it is never right to mix Rustox Brinia together and give it to the patient. So you have to strictly follow the principles of homeopathic treatment, or else homeopathy is going to die, and it will be just these patents will not ever require a doctor to prescribe it. Anybody can prescribe it. Anybody who's not well skilled might prescribe it, just looking at the box, that take it in this joint pain, and people will not follow it seriously, take homeopathy seriously. Miasmatic background is very important. and the miasmatic background of gout is commonly associated with psora, psychosis, syphilis, everything. Often psychotic dominance. Why? Why psychotic? Because there is a deposition of its first psora. There is inflammation, and then it start to deposit this uric acid on the joints. So it is psychosis. Something is developing, and when this deposition causes lot of inflammation and start causing damage to the other things, then it becomes syphilitic also later on. So sometimes tubercular miasm also comes, but originally it is psychotic dominance. So important remedies in gout, which are indicated to the general symptoms of the gout, are colchicum autumnale, Leadenpall, benzoic acid, Bryonia alba, Urtica urens, Guaiacum, Lycopodium, sulfur. So first we'll talk about colchicum autumnale. It's a very good remedy for gout. You can see tophus formation over the joints. It is used in the extreme cases of gout where there is a lot of sensitivity to touch. The patient cannot wear the shoe, the lady cannot do anything with the hand, and there is severe pain and worse using that area, worse motion. And if you'll touch the joint with back of your hand, you might feel the joint is hot and swollen, heat is coming, and most of the times this night aggravation is there. And one more very important symptom which tells that no, this gout will be cured with colchicum autumnale only, is that that patient is going to tell you that his urine is very dark in color, just like ink. And also, whenever his wife is cooking in the kitchen, the that smoke of that tadka, he feel nauseous. Whenever somebody cooks food or food comes in front of him, he feels once he feels nauseous before eating. He feels like he should not eat, and then he eats. So this is a very good diagnostic, differentiating symptom of colchicum autumnale. The next remedy is Leadenpall. Gout starting in the feet. Means patient will tell you first, I started having pain in my big toe, then it started in my ankles, then knees, now it has come to my this upper body. This way it happens. So you can think of Leadenpall. He might tell you that I met an accident, and after that, I had very bad punctured injuries, something went inside me, or I was treated with screws and everything, lot of rods. So after that, I started these pains, and I was diagnosed with uric acid also. So these kind of pains, ascending pains, uh, they give indication to Leadenpall. Like we discussed that in colchicum autumnale, the swelling is hot and red. In this, Leadenpall has a very marked thing that the swelling, the painful swelling, if you touch it, it's a cold swelling. It's painful, but it's cold, and it also feels better by cold also. So this is a very differentiating special symptom of Leadenpall. Benzoic acid is suited to people who have high uric acid and they suffer from bad kidney disease, chronic kidney disease, or they have only one kidney and they have lost the other kidney, and that one kidney is also under grade 3 or grade 2 nephropathy. The urine is offensive and dark and brownish, and the patient will have joint pains, very bad joint pains in the wrist and in the ankles, very bad that he cannot clutch and open his hands. And sometimes these pains are shifting, like there are shifting pains in pulsatilla. These pains are also shifting, but they keep on shifting from wrist to knees and ankles, and patient lies down, folding his legs, a lot of pain. And it's sometimes it can help in the cases of tophaceous gout when the uric acid is very high. Bryonia alba, everybody knows that if the character of the pain is stitching pain, and which is worse by even a thought of movement, lot of movement. The patient don't want to, move even an eye. He thinks that the thought of movement will also cause pain to him. He lies so still, and the patient is always better by rest. And the joints are very much swollen, and patient says that he feels better when somebody, presses it. He feels better by it. Pressure, better by pressure he feels. And the mucous membranes are very much dry. Patient is very thirsty. If you look at the tongue of the patient, it's a dry pasty tongue, and patient is very weak, irritable, and stools might be dry and brown, and urine also may be dark in color. So the Brina alba is suited to such people. Urtica urens is a uric acid diathesis, typically joint pains, multiple stones in the kidneys, and patient will tell you that in the night time he suffers from so bad itching in the back, and sometimes it looks like bee stings, and lot of times he has to see a lot of urticaria due to sun, or when he does some work with lot of exertion he gets urticaria. So this medicine is very good medicine when you apply everything, but patient has lot of pathology in the body. You can use Urtica urens and it will help you. And the patient suffering from skin disease, urticaria like symptoms, and high uric acid and burning, stinging pains everywhere in the body. Guaiacum. Guaiacum is also used in the chronic gout cases, contracted joints, and contracted joints like patient will think that he can't open the arms. There is difficulty in opening the um, knee joint. So there's a lot of contracted feeling in the joints, and there is a lot of stiffness in the morning. And there you can see tophaceous deposit on the fingers everywhere in the body. So this is Goecum. Everybody is following till now. Any doubt? Any doubt? Anything you want?
Doctor, you proceed with the class. At last, we'll give
Okay,
time
okay.
to the doubts.
Okay, okay. So, there's a very strange thing that I have seen in a lot of patients who are suffering from gout. They have problems with their eyes also. Like you will see in patient who requires colchicum autumnale. If you'll clearly see if he's a person who requires colchicum autumnale, his one pupil will be dilated and one will be, contracted. And similar things you can see that in Guaiacum patient, you will see the pupils are dilated, and there are skin disease around the eyes. People who suffer from gout and kidney disease, sometimes they have very bad skin around the eyes, dark and bad skin around the eyes. So, and the people who require Goicum, the people with joint pain who require Goicum, they have sometimes liking, strong desire, and craving for apples also. And sometimes they suffer from sharp stitches after urinating, and they have a constant desire of uh, uh, like to pass urine. So these are the symptoms are very syphilitic. When there is lot of inflammation, structural change also due to gout, due to tophus formation. When there is accumulation in the joints, when uric acid deposition is there, that is the phase when the cycotic miasm is dominating. But when the tophus formation is there, that there is a deformity. Structural change happens. Then at that stage, the patient enters the kind of sorosyphilitic stage, which is better by tubercular remedies, sometimes tuberculinum also, abrotinum also. Lycopodium, we all know lycopodium patient. We can recognize that patient in our clinic very easily. Right-sided complaints, desire for very hot food, very smart patient, very sometimes acts very naive in front of the doctor, but is a very you know very dominating in the house. He every time he passes urine, there is discomfort in the abdomen, and after passing urine, there is a lot of relief, and this urine is red and sandy, and patient has bloating, lot of burps, and he eats little, and has a lot of complaints in the abdomen, all the GI complaints of lycopodium. And the patient will have lot of headache also, and the patient will have a lot of dryness in the mouth, and patient will get you know have throat problems from the cold food, and numbness. There will be numbness in the arms and limbs while at rest, along with the pain on the joints, and patient cannot lie on the painful part. Lycopodium patient cannot lie on the painful part. This is a very important thing, and very important thing to differentiate lycopodium from others is that if you'll touch the feet or feet of the patient, the right foot is hot and left is cold, and there are cramps, severe cramps in calves and toes in bed at night. Limbs go to sleep in when the patient is lying down. And the most important, Allen's keynote also has highlighted this symptom. Very typical to lycopodium is that the right foot is hot and left foot is cold, and right-sided complaints. So, if you go for constitutional treatment, the kind of people who suffer gout, so those constitutions are against sulfur, lycopodium, calcarea carb, and natramure. So sulfur we have not discussed. Sulfur are the people who are very philosophical, they have heat in the palms and soles, and they have desire for the sweet food, and they have itching in the body. Which might look like hives sometimes when it is summertime, and sulfur cannot sleep with the feet covered. It is a typical thing for sulfur patient. He cannot, and how will you differentiate between a sulfur patient and calcarea carb patient? Sulfur patient, if you'll touch the palms, palms will be sweaty. Calcarea carb patient, you will touch the palms, palm will be sweaty. But sulfur patient will have hot, sweaty palms, and calcarea carb patient will have cold, sweaty palms, and sulfur patient will have typical severe pain in the left shoulder and heaviness, burning in soles, and he will have a very rheumatic type of gout with itching, like joints where there is swelling. The person would like to scratch. He'll say there's a lot of pain, but I love to scratch. He'll feel pleasure in scratching that area, and there is drawing and tearing pains in the body. And whenever patient takes overeats or eat a lot of spicy or sweet food, he suffers a lot. And there is lot of stiffness in the ankles. Patient will say that rest of the pains keep on shifting from one place to the another, but my ankles pain a lot since the beginning. And you can see patient might have some ganglion also, and that patient sulfur patient will be having stoop shouldered patient. You can see that patient sits with a slouch in the back, can't sit straight. He has to be reminded. And calcarea carb patient, that patient which has got rheumatoid pains after getting wet, sharp sticking pains, and cold damp feet, and you can patient will tell you that he has sour smelling feet, and there is burning of soles, cold sweat of hands. And in calcarea carb patient you will see the depositions, a tophus formation in the joints, and there's a lot of tearing pain in the muscles. So this is a constitution you can identify. Calcarea carb is often identified in the very small children or the elderly people who have cysts, because lot of cysts in the body which have fluid in it, they are lined by calcarea carb only, tuna only. So natramure again is the constitution which suffers from this gout. So we'll see how we'll find that this patient, he has natramure patient will have joint pains, but he will have that desire for some firm support, desire for firm support mentally also and physically also for his or her pains. And The Natrum patient will also have the palms hot and perspiring. Arms and legs, especially knees, feel very much weak. Dryness and cracking about the fingernails, numbness and tingling, ankles weak and turn easily. But Natrum have a lot of pain in the hamstrings. Who else has lot of pain in the hamstrings? Cannot bend down to touch his toes. Natrum and causticum. Lot of contraction in the hamstrings, and there is a cracking in joints on motion. But the thing is, Natrum will have a hot body, upper body, and coldness of the legs, and desire for sulfur will have desire for sweets, and Natrum will have desire for salty food, and they both have very opposite kind of nature. Sulfur will be very interactive, very talking, very involving, and sometimes trying to be smarter than you to teach you something about your own homeopathy. But Natrum will be, less communicative with the doctor. So these are the constitutions which can suffer with gout. So we should know them. And rest, diet, and lifestyle is very important. Low purine diet should be there, and patient should avoid alcohol. Patient should maintain healthy weight. Overweight people means psychosis. Again, if the patient will get psychosis, patient will have psychotic traits. That this is then obviously uric acid is going to get deposit, and patient should be quite very well hydrated. So I'll tell you, we have psychotic constitution in homeopathy. Similar is the kapha personality in Ayurveda. So, what is the concept behind that? Our body is an empty cavity. It should have air in it. And the mucus, a thin layer of mucus should line that, cavity. So, when this mucus get increased in quantity and become thick, then the person gains weight throughout the body. Means this person becomes psychotic, hanging healing phase. There's lot of mucus accumulation in the body, mucus accumulation in the brain. So patient looks, the weight must could be less, but patient looks swelled up, kapha personality. So this patient will be slow, have brain fogging. If she's a woman, she will have that mucus in the womb, then she will have lot of clots. Again, it's a psychotic thing. So all these things will keep on accumulating. And when does it happen? When the heat of the body cavity should maintain a proper amount of heat, which is sora, heat proper. If it goes up, then it causes itching. Heat, air in the cavity, and thin line of mucus is balance. So when the mucus increases throughout in the body, then patient becomes psychotic. And when the this heat increases or decreases, only the heat increases and decreases, then patient becomes soric, decreases. Soric or psychotic, heat nikalti hai, sulfur has heat. There is a lot of heat in the soles and palms. And when there is less heat for the digestion and lot of acid in the body, then that becomes syphilitic. Degeneration starts happening. So we have to bring it to balance through diet also. So a lot of dietary things, we dietary uh, advices we should know to give those patients, that these people can take coriander seeds, and they can soak them in the water and drink that water in the morning. What with lifestyle they can do, they can take licorice they can boil in water, and they can take it, because you have to follow everything. When you'll take them off from their normal diet, alcohol, non-veg, everything, then you need to tell them some good things also, what they should do, what they should add in their diet. They can eat fruits with lot of seeds, but they can eat pulses, but not very heavy pulses. So this is very good for them. What I told you, that coriander seed they can soak, and they can have the water in the morning, because it helps to detox the kidneys. It helps the kidney. This is plant remedy, kind of plant supplements which help the kidneys. So you can add all these things, licorice, water and this coriander seed water. You can tell your patient it will benefit them a lot. They can take, they can change their flour, they can switch to ragi, and they can switch to jowar, and they can eat once a full meal once a day, and rest of the day they can have salad and fruits, a platter of salad and fruits. And they should not eat a lot of curd, thick curd. They can have very very thin uh, what we say chach. Tadka chach means with zira powder and everything. They should take it, which will help them their digestion only, because everything is through gut. Because and they should avoid taking lot of sweet means sweet could be overeating of wheat, sweet could be sweets, sweet could be anything which is very heavy to digest, because then it will again lower their digestive fire. So they have to increase their digestive fire so that proper heat can maintain, and all that mucus which is thick, rotating thick in the body, should get thin. So these are the dietetic things we need to know. Hahnemann also knew a lot of things, but that time there were no chips and everything, so people could refrain from the things which used to cause problems. But nowadays, you cannot do it. You have to tell them some regime to follow. So how do we manage the cases of gout? We should take a, detailed case taking. We should know in the case of gout what you're looking for. You should frame questions accordingly, because a very long case taking of 2-3 pages is useless. You have to start with what has happened, how does it increase, how does it decrease, since when you're suffering with it, what all you suffered in throughout your life. You have to take accordingly what treatment you took. Then you have to analyze sideways ki what he must have gone through. So what is to be treated first, you will realize. Meanwhile, you will understand the miasm also, looking into the family history and everything. And at the end, you have to take all the important symptoms of the patient, characteristic symptoms of the patient together. First, the physical symptoms on the top, and if physical symptoms you take together, totality, and they indicate to 5 remedies, then from those 5 remedies, to choose the one remedy, you will compare the mental symptoms, and the remedy which scores high with the mental symptom, you can choose it that time to take treat the patient. And you can keep an eye on all the rest of them. If that doesn't work, you can later on retake the case and look for the other remedies and follow up. This is how we do it. So after discussing all this, we confirm that homeopathy offers individualized treatment for gout by addressing both acute symptoms and underlying constitutional tendencies. It's not like in allopathic treatment that we have one medicine which is anti-uric acid, which will which will do something to the uric acid depositing in the body, or there's a painkiller that anti-inflammatory. It's the homeopathic treatment is not that superficial. It will give you pain relief also, and it will try to kill that miasmatic thing which is causing this disease in the individual. So this is what I had to share. So there are 15 minutes. Anybody wants to share something, ask something?
Really wonderful presentation first. And thank you for sharing your knowledge here. And we have Avinash Gawande. He's asking about explain tophaceous deposit.
To explain tophaceous deposit, I can share a picture, I think, with you. And then I will share a case also.
Doctor,
Hello?
See, can you see?
Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yes, Doctor.
You can't.
Okay.
You can search it. It is the accumulation, like on the, it can go very big also. It is an accumulation which you can see. Otherwise, when we get that test done for a patient, you can see that uric acid deposit through the blood, test only. But in few patients, you will see on the finger, there will be a big bump over there. Or on, sometimes it is so bad on the big toes, it's big, it's like big laddus, big balls. There's accumulation of this uric acid. It causes a very bad derangement. So I'll tell you a case. I had a case in which the patient was having that tophaceous deposit on the thumb hair, a nodule. And he said, "Ki doctor, I have started having all the, this is very hard nodule hair, but there is no pain in it. There is no pain in it. What should I do?" So I told him that I reviewed his blood test and I saw that he has 9, uric acid was 9, and he was not having any joint pain anywhere else. But then I got to know that in his family, in front of everybody, he had an argument with his wife, where his wife shouted at him for the first time, where he felt very insulted. And we spoke about a urine infection also, increased urge for urination, and sciatica pain was also there. So all those symptoms, although we have not discussed that remedy here, indicated me to the characteristic symptoms of the patient also. So I gave him Staphylococcus aureus 30, and after a week that vanished. That patient told me, "Oh, this is magic, it has gone." And then we continued it, and after some time, when we reviewed his blood test also, all other symptoms were also better, sciatica and everything. And his uric acid was also, earlier it was 9, so it was 7.8, and 7 is the range. So this is how it happens. And Dr.
Dr. Hariharan
Hariharan.
want to ask you something. Dr. Hariharan, you can ask now, please.
Hello, madam. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay, madam. Your class is nice and fantastic. I am not fully heard about the class, but I want to know about you said about the constitutions and which potency will you select for constitutions? That is one of the
Like I'll tell you, like if
see,
somebody has
second
come
question.
to.
So first question is this. Second question is that any pathological remedies will you give along with this? That is my second question.
I'll start as per the requirement. If somebody has come to me and he's telling me, like, if he's showing me a big tophus growth, and if I'm touching it, it is hot and red, and he's telling me while taking the case, I feel nauseous before eating food, then my urine color is dark. When I'm getting colchicum autumnale and there is lot of pathology, I can see and feel structural change. So yeah, I'll start with 6. Colchicum autumnale 6. If he'll get better with 6, then I'll go to 30. Then I go to 200. When the physical symptoms are gone and the nausea is there, then I'll go for 200. Then I'll wait. So and then later on, if I'll find anything miasmatic or something comes back, then I'll see if I should give an anti-miasmatic medicine or not. And second question, what you asked, that to which rare remedies?
Okay,
What did
but
you
any
ask?
pathological remedies to relieve
Pathological, what are the pathological remedies? You cannot give homeopathic remedies without an indication. If there are indications for that characteristic symptom of that remedy in the patient, then only you will give it. If you select 4 remedies, the most characteristic symptoms which are there in the patient resembling to that remedy is the remedy for the patient. Why to intervene with other things?
Okay, very good. See, that is correct. If the constitutional remedy is very correct, there is no need of any pathological remedies. Okay, that is good. Okay, thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Anyone else who want to share something, some nice case they treated of gout? That will be very good to
Do you
share.
give, madam? Do you give the LM potency for this
Yes.
type of cases?
Yes, I do give. Yes, I do give LM potencies. I give LM potencies are very good to introduce to the people who are, a bit, having very chronic, and lot of things along with that gout. Very good to start with them. I use LM potencies a lot. If I get cancer patients and there are a lot of things, I start with LM potency if I am very much sure of my remedy.
Okay, thank you, madam.
Thank you, Dr. Hariharan. Avinash, before he asked about tophaceous deposit, right? You can unmute yourself and please unmute yourself and Dr. Avinash.
Yes, yes. I'm Dr. Avinash Gawande from Akola, Maharashtra. I would like to ask that whenever we select any remedy on the basis of its constitution, as well as there are some remedies which has uh, elective affinity with some organs, or sometimes they are related with weather, electronic changes of the weather, and so on. So, as with the characteristic symptoms, just like in bryonia, there is a stitching pain, and in sulfur, the patient is aggravated from standing, or the calcarea car patient is very dormant. That means he is very lazy. So while we take the case on the paper, we should see what are the systems which are mainly affected. As you have rightly said, that this is a metabolic disorder. So we must think about the liver and the type of digestion, because most of the patients are suffering from some disorder in the digestion, and that's why they produce such type of diseases. So we find the real cause in it's something wrong with the that specific system, just like a muscular system, circulation system, or digestive system, or sometimes nervous system. So when we select the remedy, there should have some relation with the system also. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're right. I totally understand and I agree with it. If I'm taking a gout case, first it is a soro-psychotic dominance case, no? So these kind of patients, they might get aggravated with the rainy weather. So I am ready with the natrum sulf for the rainy weather for these people if they get aggravated in the rainy weather. All these psychotic people, they get aggravated in the rainy weather. Their joint pains get worse in the rainy weather. So natrum sulf is the remedy. Sometimes I have to give in between for their symptoms. And sometimes, their psychotic people, medurinum might help. Sometimes thuja might help. So we have to see constitution, we have to see everything falls into the myzum. When your system is myzum, in what phase the whole body is. Whether it is in the secreting phase or its power is diminishing or it is causing regular inflammation, and we have to exactly see, is there a maintaining cause? That's why we interfere a lot. Are you taking alcohol? Are you eating chop, soya chop? Are you taking chicken every day? Are you taking red meat? So you have to stop it. Then he'll say, no doctor, I have a craving for red meat. Here he is going to tell you his myasm. Maybe he could be lachesis. We have not discussed lachesis. When you'll get to know the patient, there is a lot of variety. He'll tell you, I can't leave non-veg, doctor. I can't. Calcarea ka will say chicken. I want to eat chicken. Mummy, I don't want to eat wheat, roti and anything. I just want chicken and egg. So these are the people who, if you'll tell them to leave alcohol or their craving for alcohol is there in sulfur, craving for alcohol is there in lachesis, craving for non-veg is in lachesis, medorinum, Merck's salsiflinum also when the tophus is big. So whatever will be the totality of the disease, this is the beauty of homeopathy, is going to guide us. We can never be prejudiced. I
Thanks,
hope
madam. Thanks. Lot of thanks.
Okay. Anything? I think because whatever we discuss, we all should, when we discuss on it, we together we discuss on it, we remember it for longer time because we all revise it.
Yes, Dr. Minimeta, it's really a very good session. And usually we know that growth is sometimes some people affect on the right side, some on the left. Sometimes it may come on the right and then go to the left, and sometimes it may be diagonal type of it. What kind of importance you give to this kind of uh,
So it is very important. Side of the body is very important. Right sided symptoms, left sided symptoms. It is very important, and it is a very important guideline to the remedy. It will clearly, make your focus on the patient. Will say only my left side seems weak, doctor. I feel like my left side is contracted. All the things happen to my left side. Then you clearly, you have to select the remedies from left sided remedies. You can select the best. Sometimes, people will tell you all of this started once when I got, when I was wet in the rain. Then I took a bus and there was AC in the bus. Since then, I'm never well. So you can give Drustox, Dalkamara, whatever totality symptom will click, it is going to hit. Calicarb, lot of patients. So this, whatever you characteristic, if we know our remedies so well, whatever characteristic the patient is going to throw in your eyes, catch it. Then that remedy is going to work. But when there is lot of layers, patient after taking lot of painkillers and everything, he comes to you, then you can start with the set of remedies which I told you, lycopodium, this Leadenpal. But when you start giving it, it is not going to, if it's a old case, layer to layer patient will open up, and the last layer will be the constitution.
yes, at times
So
we may find these symptoms in uh, thyroid problems also. What will be your plan? Whether you just go with the constitutional treatment, or would you give more importance to these thyroid problems? Because most of the patients who are visiting the rheumatologist with the thyroid problems, they are giving thyroxine 200 milligrams, and then medicine for this arthritis and everything. But still, the patient is suffering.
I know, just so we don't have to stop and interfere with that. First, make the patient comfortable with whatever he is taking. Then he himself will throw away that tablet. And sometimes, I have treated the gout and it has come to the skin after the pains were better. Then we keep on treating the skin with the constitutional thing. So I don't care what the patient is taking, but I'm very strict. Sometimes I try to push the patient, leave whatever you are taking. Then this is how I get to know how much this person is dependent on these painkillers and everything. Then I tell them, you will take the painkiller only SOS, nothing will happen. And we'll meet every seven days. First, you relieve your patient in the acute thing. Then he'll be your fan and we'll go accordingly. If we'll take a lot of interest in the patient and we keep on meeting the patient frequently in the beginning, then we almost get the case. Not that difficult.
Exactly. I think Dr. Bob wants to say a few things.
Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Minimita for a very interesting and informative webinar on the subject of the gout and its homeopathic management. So, one question I have in mind is, at the same time, do we advise the patient to remove the what do you call that, the cause of the cosmetic agent, like he's been taking what do you call that, the prawns or seafood grills, so he has to stop taking that, and will it help? Then at the same time we give homeopathic remedy.
No, we'll tell them to stop taking it for a while because seafood has, certain type of, allergens, sometimes which aggravates this situation. And there you can get to know also that that person has got craving for it, or it's a normal regime for it. If
No,
it's a
he's
normal regime, he'll
he's
be
taking
able
as a
to get rid of
supplement. You know, there's a certain
Sup-
kind of
omega
rules that
3,
yes,
7C pills. I know.
there's a
No,
supplement.
I tell them, don't take any supplement. These are the things which have a molecular structure to look like the exact things in the body, but they work like that or not, nobody knows. And if your body is unable to absorb something naturally, how is your body able to absorb that artificial thing, synthetic thing? So we have to work on the absorption of the food now. Supplements will not help. This is
Okay.
the basic logic. So I tell them to leave it. No supplements. Because, I used to be with an allopathic doctor. He was very experienced and he used to believe in alternative medicine also. He was a cardiologist and chest specialist. And he told me that whenever some patient comes to me, I just put off them from their multivitamins because this puts an extra load on the heart. They are not easily digestible. So he used to stop, very first day, he used to stop all those things. And he was in a very good hospital there where a lot of wrestlers and people who used to, play for national level players who used to take testosterone and medicines to make muscles used to come to him for heart problems and everything. And he used to tell, never take supplements. And the story of supplement is same in every case. Natural supplement will only work. Phytonutrients from plants, like I told you, coriander seeds, you soak coriander seeds and you take that water in the morning. That is natural supplement. Why don't you take it? It will
Thank
help.
you.
It will become your kidney.
Thank you, Dr. Mini Mehta. Now it is the time for the Malayalam session. Thank you so much for your class, and thank you so much
Dr.
for the
Anjali,
audience.
congratulations, Dr. Mini Mehta. Dr. Mini Mehta is a dynamic personality for IFPH guest. Congratulations, Dr. Mini Mehta. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, everyone. Now
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good night. And now I am handing over the session to Dr. P. Shaila. You're welcome, Dr. Shaila. You're welcome. Please.
Thank you, Dr. Ajini.
I'm making you as a host. Okay.
No.
To whom I have to make?
You can make.
I'll make. Okay, doctor, you can start, please. What happened, Dr. Shaila?
അവിടെ നല്ല മഴയാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു.
Mariamma doctor.
Okay, I think there is some problem with her.
Doctor,
Dr. Mariamma, you proceed.
നന്ദി ഡോക്ടർ. എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം. IFP